Hey everybody, guys. It's a beautiful Thursday evening and I'm here stuck in the office. And here's the thing, guys, it's a few minutes before 1900 hours, which is the news. Typically, what I like to do is to jump on here real quick a few minutes before the news so that I can give you my take on what's been happening. Guys, tell me in the comments below if you can see me, if you can hear me. Is this broadcast clear? There is nothing in this world that is more annoying than an unclear broadcast. So I just need to hear you. Lawrence Mokena says loud and clear. Let's talk about it. Guys, as you know, thank you everybody for joining in, and thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule this evening to spend a few moments with me here on SML TV. Let's talk about it. As you know, everybody knows, here it is. I'm going to throw it under there. Antony Mwanza resigns from the N.P.F. I affectionately refer to them as the N.P.F. And let me tell you, a little side note here, a little fun factoid for those of you that do not know. The reason I coined the phrase, the Notorious Patriotic Front, actually, the origins of that declaration are found in Antony Mwanza. Let me take you back. During the 2021 elections, during the campaigns, the PF as well as the UPND, I used to cover both events. Whenever the PF would call me to cover their rallies, I would go. When the UPND would call me to cover their rallies, I would go. So every time I would go cover the N.P.F. rallies, the Notorious Patriotic Front, Antony Mwanza would always, because he would usually chair these rallies. He would be the master of ceremonies at these rallies, and he would be the one that was tasked with the job of introducing the different speakers and sort of going through the program. He would always say at these rallies, he would always say, the mighty patriotic front. He would always say that. And in my heart, I would always say, no, you're not the mighty, you're the notorious patriotic front. Only because I know them. And so when they left, I love the fact that I have the liberty now to call them that. Of course, there was a time I couldn't say that. I mean, if I called them the Notorious Patriotic Front during the time that they were in power, oh, honey, they would break down my door. They would threaten me. They would threaten to kill me. I went through that many, many different times. That's a different topic for another day. But that is the origin of why I call them the notorious, the N.P.F., the Notorious Patriotic Front. Let's talk about it. Everybody knows that Antony Mwanza has resigned, not only resigned, but he has withdrawn his membership. His resignation takes effect 31st of June, 2023. He made that very clear today. Now, there are a couple of things I want us to talk about, things that he brought out, and I think it's important for us to have a conversation about this. First thing he said, and I want to hone in on this, he said that without a president, you cannot sell a party. That's a given. That's a fact. It doesn't matter how much the N.P.F. tiptoe through the tulips. It doesn't matter how much the N.P.F. dance around the issue. It doesn't matter how much the N.P.F. hold hands and sing kumbaya and look to the clouds in the sky for a pie in the sky. It doesn't matter how many miles and kilometers they jog every morning from former President Lungu's house. As long as they don't have a president, they cannot sell a party. Antony Mwanza said that. The second thing Antony Mwanza brought out was that there is no willingness or commitment from the Central Committee to take this party to the General Conference. That's a given. We can tell, we can see. We can see that the N.P.F. are lollygagging. They're dragging their feet. They're wallowing in the cesspool of procrastination, the N.P.F. Thirdly, the party has been hijacked by a rogue clique, namely Chilufya Tayali, Rafael Nakachinda, Boman Lusambo, Wagiven Luvinda, Stephen Ikampyongo. This is a clique. This is a cluster. This is a remnant of rogue PF members that have literally hijacked the party at the expense of the party. I want that to sink in for a moment. I need that to sizzle in your spirit. The fourth thing Antony Mwanza said was the party, there's this idea that the party has no money. Antony Mwanza said that's not true. And we've been saying it. Haven't we been saying that? Haven't we been saying that the N.P.F., the Notorious Patriotic Front, are swimming in a river of money? The land that was earmarked to build the new headquarters for the N.P.F. This was during the time that they thought that they were invincible. This was during the time that they thought that 1,000 years would go by before the PF ever lost power. This was back when they were riding high on the saddle. This was back when they thought that the sun would never set on the N.P.F. empire. So there it is. They sold a piece of land after losing the elections. The top brass of the PF sold a piece of land over there on Burma Road. They chopped off a huge piece of land, the land that was earmarked as the house of prayer. Those crooks. They sold it for $1 million to Sakali. The N.P.F. shared that money with the top brass. The top brass members of the N.P.F. shared that money amongst themselves, and the lower organs of the PF knew nothing about it. So it is wrong, it is disingenuous, it is misleading to say that the party has no money. On top of that, you had several members of the N.P.F. that put their names forward. No pun intended. Members of the N.P.F. that said, I want to run for president. And they got their hard-earned money, 200,000 kwacha. Now, guys, to some of you, 200,000 kwacha may not sound like a lot of money to some of you. But to a lot of us, that's a mountain of money. People like Miles Asampa, Emmanuel Mwamba, all these guys, I've been at GBM, they mobilized their hard-earned money and they said, we want to run for president. And they gave that money to the party. And I remember Miles Asampa was the first one to lead the charge. Miles was the first one to say, I'm going to put my name forward. This is my democratic right to do so. Here's 200,000 kwacha on the table. Put my name on the list. I'm running for president. Anybody ever SG PF? Tell me his name in the comments. I forget his name now. But the SG of the N.P.F. The abade pendempia, the abade Miles bade tedempia. But they mean an amate. But it fear. Wabomba. Yai the Miles off mepo. Whatever SG varia. Wapa phone. Whatever iwe Miles na leta 200,000 wacha kuno. Na tuno na. No manga wachelo watawashimone. Endesha. Pantu sharapwa. That's how those chaps operate. Now, it is wrong and it is disingenuous to say that the N.P.F. has no money. They do. Every member of the N.P.F. right now, every member of parliament in the N.P.F. contributes 5,000 kwacha towards the party. Every month. How many MPs do they have? More than 55 MPs. How much money is that? It's a lot of money. My point is they have the money. Okay. And here it is. Now, this is something that Antony Mwanza said that really piqued my interest. And I want us to hone in on this because this was very telling. I mean, this was something that really, this was an eye opener. This is what he said. Let me bring it, let me throw it up here for you so that you and I are on the same page. This is what he said. He said, we must save Michael Sata's party. Now, let me tell you why this statement is very important. This whole time, none of these guys have ever pledged their allegiance. Post Michael Sata, after Michael Sata, after the demise of the originator, the founder of the PF, Mr. Michael Sata, after his demise, after his exit, after his death, when former President Lungu took over the PF, there was no one in the party that was paying allegiance to Michael Sata. Everybody was talking about Ediga. Ediga. Everybody's allegiance was to former President Edgar Lungu. So I find it curious and interesting that now that Antony Mwanza has now exited the party, he's now saying we must save Michael Sata's party. Do you know what this means? It means Antony Mwanza recognizes that as far as he's concerned, his allegiance is no longer to former President Lungu. It's not. And this is telling, this is the revelation of this statement is so loud that if you refuse to look at it for what it is, then you are blind. This is a revelation. This reveals what's in Antony Mwanza's heart. What this is saying is, we don't count former President Lungu. That's what he's saying. He says, I don't recognize former President Lungu. I recognize Michael Sata. That's what he's saying. And I find that very curious. All right. It's almost 19 hours. A couple of your comments. Greed is what finished the N.P.F. Yes, I agree. I agree. I agree. I do. I agree. The party is heading for doom. Oh, this is just the beginning. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Guys, go watch the news. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other, and you go run and tell that.